Hello, I'm Gavin Horgan, Headmaster of Millfield School in Somerset, the largest co-educational boarding school in the UK. Welcome to the Millfield Way Podcast. Here, you'll hear from teachers, coaches and students from Millfield and Millfield Prep School. Millfield is traditionally different, and this is the Millfield Way.
Welcome to this Millfield Way podcast in conversation with Sarah Quenault. My name's Liz Webb, and for this episode I'm delighted to be joined by Millfield's Deputy Head Pastoral, Sarah Quenault. Good morning, Sarah.
Morning.
Now, you've been in post for a few months or so now. How has the first term been as Deputy Head at Millfield?
Gosh, yes, it's been amazing. Millfield's definitely a fast place, exciting place to be. Obviously, the first term has been quick, but equally I've been able to take some time to make sure that I'm speaking to as many different people as I can and learning really about Millfield and what it's like to be a student here, what it's like to be a staff member, and also about our community outside, parents and other interested parties. And I think living on site also has allowed me and my family to become completely immersed in the kind of Millfield culture. So it's certainly been a steep learning curve, but also one that's been really, really enjoyable.
That's fantastic to hear. And can you tell us a bit about your background and your career before you joined Millfield?
Yeah, so I've had quite a varied background in terms of the educational choices that I've made in terms of my career so far. I studied physical education in Leeds. No surprise then that we've chosen Millfield with its sporting prowess as somewhere that I'd love to be. But I worked in a variety of state schools within the Leeds area and during York during my 4 years of training. And then I returned to my home area of Jersey and the Channel Islands. From there, I worked in an all-girls selective school, very academic and huge amounts of co-curricular activities going on at the same time and sport. And I worked my way up through various different middle leader roles within the school. I kind of someone that's always wanted to stick my neck out and be the person who says yes to things rather than no, and kind of say why I didn't want to do something. If it was something that interested me, then I'd normally stick my hand up and end up with quite a few jobs on my profile. I was head of transition there from primary to secondary, which kind of widened my network. 28 different feeder schools, would you believe, even in a small place like Jersey, were coming through to my school. So my ability to kind of work with people and adapt to new environments and understand different people's backgrounds and cultures who were all coming into one place led me on to become transition lead, but also pastoral and academic lead for years 7 to 9 within the school. So something happened. I had my third child, and while I was off on a maternity leave, a job came up in one of the comprehensive schools in Jersey, one of the state schools in town, and I was immediately drawn to it because it was about leading a school within a school. So basically head teacher of a little mini school, I kind of saw it as in year 7. And when I got in there and being successful in an interview, the head teacher kind of put her trust in me to rewrite the curriculum with a dedicated team of staff. So I did that. And 2 years later was asked to join one of the other state schools in Jersey to set up a similar system. And one thing led to another, and I ended up as Deputy Head Pastoral in that school where I've been for the past 5 years in that role. It's a very diverse school, similar to Millfield, certainly non-selective in terms of anybody's backgrounds and culture, and we had a 50% English as additional language, which led to the brilliance that I saw in that school in terms of our students and our families, and the same things as I see here in terms of the Millfield mix. So I guess it has been quite varied, but I think that's something that actually has enabled me to adapt very quickly and be quite flexible towards the environments that I work in, and not a lot phases me. So I hope that I've been able to settle quite quickly, and certainly really enjoying being part of an independent school and such a remarkable brand as Millfield.
It does feel like you've been here a lot longer than you have. The deputy head role here is huge. We're the biggest boarding school in Europe. What are the different elements of your role? Can you tell us what your main priorities are and your kind of daily job as well?
So the priorities are ever evolving really within a pastoral lead role, and you have to be quite prepared not to stick to necessarily a plan that you've got, whether that's for the day or whether it's for 6 months. But it equally is important to work strategically, and I guess my role in essence is revolving around students, their daily lives, their welfare, their Millfield diet. I guess they come here and my job is to ensure that we get the very best out of every single child. So it would involve obviously strategic work planning for this year and the years to come in all branches of our pastoral care, but that crosses over the academics, the sport, the co-curricular, and I think in every job, when I think back, every single job that I have had a huge need to be part of an academic team as well as a pastoral team, and you can't really have one without the other. And I think here our co-curricular sport model also branches into our triangle, and I think that's the beauty of this independent school and our boarding structure here, full boarding, and that is about the full picture around every single child. So I guess, I would lead on culture, behavioural strategies, the safeguarding team I'm part of, and also obviously work closely with our Senko and LRC, the Wellbeing Hub, spiritual leads, and of course our important house parents and assistants who run the 24 houses here at Millfield.
And so you've talked there a lot about the different people in the teams around you. Who makes up the kind of core pastoral team at the school?
Well, everybody. I mean, pastoral work is everybody's business here, just like safeguarding is. But obviously I have a kind of set team underneath me that will work primarily within our pastoral branches. So assistant head teachers, including Mr. Watling, the DSL, main hat being the DSL, but obviously part of the wellbeing teams, including the counsellors. And then Mr. Middleton dealing with houses, the house parents enrolment, Mr. Barber, Mr. Furlong, the heads of sixth form and middle schools who manage the heads of year. They have the academic and pastoral oversight for each child within their year group, and through to people like James Stevenson, the spiritual lead as well, working closely with him. But gone are the days, as I said, where a straight line can be drawn between these things, and everyone really needs to work closely to provide a team around every child and ensure their needs are met.
And modern day boarding schools, there's an awful lot of support around students, a huge amount. Where do our students go when they need support? How do they access that?
Yeah, well, in a variety of ways. I mean, I think one thing that pastoral work has shown me is that we can't force children to access things, and we can't, do pastoral care to them. It's about understanding the needs of the child at that time, and as we know with any young people, their thoughts and emotions will change quite quickly, and because they are moving through an ever-changing world of technology, globalization, and exciting things that perhaps I certainly didn't have access to when I was the same age, it's really, really vital that we move with them as best that we can. But in terms of the everyday support mechanisms, obviously their group tutor has a very small group of people, and purposefully, and that's why we do that academically too, so that we get to know them really well. And I think the group tutor with their 12, 13 parts of their tribe that they have with them is really important that they utilise them. They've obviously got their house parents too. Every child has house parents and assistants and house teams. And then structurally within the school we have our wellbeing hub, where there are emotional literacy as well as school counsellors who are obviously their role is to counsel children in a more structured way. We have the heads of year team, and we obviously have outside agencies too. But we are quite nimble here in terms of picking up on trends that are going on outside of Millfield, and giving children access to support as well in our local communities, and really draw on their own strengths where things maybe haven't been so good for them, and then things have got better in terms of how they can then learn from those and perhaps impact other people positively too.
And in our senior school, we have around 1,300 students. 250 of those are going to be international students. Another 250 are going to be British expats living abroad, so 500 children coming over on a plane. And of those children, 70 different nationalities included in that mix. So we really talk about the Millfield mix here. What's important about that, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely pivotal to the way that our school is built, and it's one of the things that I absolutely love. I find it exciting when I see travel day, and I speak to students about, where they're going and how far afield some of these children are coming from to be part of this special community, and certainly talking to international parents too. It's an enormous part of their investment, not just financially, but their investment emotionally as a family in terms of their child succeeding here. So it obviously allows us access and understanding and respect respect for all students and staff too, in terms of their backgrounds, their abilities, their interests. We embrace neurodiversity and other factors, and perhaps that's one of the main reasons that we're so successful. It certainly drew me as a parent before I became a member of staff here. I didn't want the same environment for my children with the same people doing the same things. I wanted them to be able to have networks in future lives and launch them into the international community that we have and around the world. And our work with US universities is just one such example where children have no ceiling really on the opportunities that this mix of children can give them.
And it's key to note that international students have been part of Millfield since the very beginning. The school was founded with 6 Indian princes. So we must have a lot of experience in helping international students come to the UK and start in a boarding school, which is unfamiliar to them. So we obviously do have homesickness. How do we support students with that when they first come?
Yeah, I mean, in a variety of ways. And again, there's no one size and one rule fits all here. I think our work before students come here is really, really important. Again, as a parent, we benefited from the online meetings that we had with the house parent, even just seeing things like a bedroom or understanding a little bit more context about where you're going to be. And also that idea of chunking time. There are thankfully and rightly so, breaks to the school year, and chunking that time down into work and time with peers and time to really thrive in this amazing environment alongside spending really good quality time at home as well. And I guess, the house parents are really pivotal on this, and they will pick up very quickly. They're very experienced. They will know when students are struggling, and they will see that it is really a very normal part to any transition. But certainly one of the things that I would encourage parents to do here is, rather than bring them home every weekend, come to them. We have a full programme, which I'm happy to talk about as well at a different point, but we have a full programme for them available at the weekend, and this is their place. And certainly, again, for me, as a parent before a member of staff, coming here and seeing my child come alive within the Millfield setting really reassured me as a parent that we'd done the right thing, and that actually he was going to be very successful here in this setting. And I think that really helps homesickness without having to come back again on your own, unaccompanied, in those first few weeks. But again, I'd expect the house parents, and I know they are, keeping very close communication with the parents. And I think our mobile phone policy is sensible as well around that. We do have obviously times of the day where we have bans from phones. We're focusing on other things, and we want children to communicate with each other and with staff here as well as within their academic work. But we also have that flex around our evenings and our mornings, so that children with international parents have that ability to call home, which is just so important. And obviously the parents as well to be able to contact the children. So I think at the moment we've got that balance right.
And it's also important to get across we are a full boarding school, and I know we're hearing more and more in the current times that some students are going to schools that say that they're full boarding, but actually on the weekends a lot of the children go home, the boarding houses empty out, there might be 5 to 10 rattling around on their own, and then everyone coming back on a Sunday night, Monday morning. So it's absolutely not like that here. And our houses where there's 60 students in might go down to 50 on a weekend because 10 might have gone out for whatever reason. So tell us about what students do in the evenings and on weekends.
Yeah, and I'd like to echo what you've just said. On the weekend when I come out of my house on a Sunday morning, I will still be greeted with morning miss by plethora of students walking past, and it is a lovely feel to think that on the Sunday, which tends to be their day of rest, that they do have that capacity to actually have that rest but be with friends. And having opportunities. There's trips, there's visits, there's other things that we offer for them. There's a brilliant Year 9 programme which gives children the opportunity to do things that they may not ever do. Caving being one such thing, even just going on fun trips to theme parks and things like that. But there's also that capacity, particularly when you talk to the older ones, that have very heavy study expectations on them. They have a very, very heavy sporting commitment or co-curricular commitments, and some of those will be over the weekend too, that they do really enjoy that downtime of doing very little and actually just chilling out, in their words, and maybe watching a football game in the afternoon or walking into street with friends to visit. We're very lucky that we have street just down the road. It's such a lovely place to be, even just have a walk round and getting a whole load of Haribo or whatever and coming back up the hill. And I think it's providing options for children at the weekend, that not all children will want to go at a million miles an hour on a Sunday too, but those that do have the opportunity to. And certainly in the evenings, our gym is full to bursting, as you would imagine, for Millfield students. And I love the idea of this kind of wraparound. When I do get out for my early morning runs, which I try to do, I'll always pass students who are going to swimming or cricket and other things that they do at that time in the morning. And it really does show the commitment that these kids have that come here. They really do want to fulfil their dreams. And I think, as I said, as long as we're offering a range of things that people can access, then I think that generally they're fairly content.
And I think for a lot of students, one of the big attractions is that for those who are horse riders, for example, their house is 2-3 minutes from the stables, so
Yes.
it cuts out all that travelling time. They can be there really quickly, they can be there multiple times a day. The same with the swimmers. As you see them getting there for their 6:30 a.m. swimming, it's a few minutes walk from their boarding house, so it just makes everything so much easier. You mentioned there a bit about events that happen throughout the year. What do you think are our students' favourite events?
Oh, well, certainly, I guess the most talked about events would be things like House Song. The reason I like that is because everybody is involved. It doesn't matter whether you can sing or not sing.
And you're a singer yourself.
Try a bit of singing, I do enjoy it. And it is fantastic. And I think one of the brilliant things about mass choirs and singing in groups of over 100 is that actually it doesn't matter if your singing voice isn't brilliant. It will be carried by those who can. And it also allows, though, our really talented musicians to be leaders and to be able to do something that they're really confident in and have expertise themselves, even if they don't lead perhaps in other areas within the school. Obviously, our block fixtures, our team game fixtures are really important to our students, and having one school en masse visiting here and us going away, they're always going to be important. Of course, all the individual events that we have here too, and the different swim meets and fencing competitions, you name it, we do it. And I think that's really important. Summer celebration, amazing. I haven't had my first summer celebration yet, but I've seen the pictures, so really looking forward to being part of that. And seeing the sixth form and even the year 10s this weekend dressing up for their formals and having those that ability to work from the outside in on the old cutlery and understand what it means to go to something that's just a little bit more special than perhaps going for a pub meal and dressing up for the occasion. And I know that there's a lot of talk at the moment around the ball and things like I've enjoyed the fireworks, the international dinner. I mean, you name it, Millfield does it. And I think we try and go bigger and better with every year. And I think that's difficult to aspire to, but I seem to think certainly from what I've seen, that definitely happens.
It was actually really lovely to hear. So we did a Millfield Live webinar last night in one of the senior girls and boys boarding houses. So we went to 2 different houses. And the upper 6 students were talking about the year 10 formal evening coming up and how they were helping their younger sisters in the house get ready for that, what they were going to wear, how they were going to do their hair. So it's really nice to hear how they were really nurturing them through this event that they were really excited about. So you touched a bit there on kind of leadership opportunities in music and things. What other opportunities are available for our students to stretch themselves and become more confident leaders?
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of different ways, and I think from the outward facing roles, we've got the school captains. I've not seen a model before where the school captains change every term, and I think that's absolutely superb. Not does it only give children a bit of balance that they can really commit to something for a term and then be able to commit to other things, but it also, in this school, we could probably have 1,000 school captains. It's really is a very sought after position that I'm sure many children would love to do and would be very good at. But of course, like any organisation, there can only be a few that get that far, and I think to enable 6 individuals to do that over the year here is fantastic.
It's quite a big commitment for them as well, isn't it? There's a lot for them to do. So actually it gives them that chance, but not for too long, so they can then...
That's right. And they can build it perhaps around schedules and things for that one term, and people will be understanding of it. And of course, we've got a large prefect team, which we don't, have particular cap on, and we can encourage children in and out of those frameworks. And lower down the school, we've obviously got the school council, year group councils, and the peer mentoring programme, which I saw in action the other night, with some Year 9 house and peer mentors supporting with some various different themes, and working with the young people. And again, the Year 9s are bound to want to work with sixth formers when it's done in the right way. And I think that was a fantastic example of how we can grow each other. And of course, the Millfield diploma has many elements of leadership within it too, that we offer all our students the opportunity to do. But I think, what's important here is, while they're outward facing roles, perhaps things that people get a badge for or a title for, everyone can be leaders, and even people who would never think about these roles having the opportunity to lead outwardly. Leadership really is just all about growing other people. So a simple example could be in a house, helping a younger student to study, or being kind to somebody when they're upset, or helping them, as you say, to do their makeup and hair ready for the ball, playing a lead musical instrument, an orchestra, leading a warm-up on a netball court. They're all things that children can aspire to be leaders, and I think it's really important that we educate that the leaders aren't the people necessarily that are the ones that we think are leaders and see, but actually everyone has the capacity, even if they don't want a job with a title, they have the capacity to lead in their way, and to use their strengths, so that we can really build each individual in the school.
And we have 5 really clear values at school. And so do you think living those values, which is what the school's always encouraging the children to do, helps them with that leadership?
Absolutely. And we build, and we're still working on what our future reward system looks like, but certainly our rewards are built around those 5 rewards, and you can see then that the children that perhaps are really growing in terms of being curious in their learning, for want of a better word, or being curious about how they can grow themselves in that area. Children that are willing to stand up against the status quo, either by being a disruptor and calling somebody out, or by being authentic to who they are. And the EDI group springs to mind there, in terms of people that have come forward as part of that group to say, this is who I am, and I want to share these experiences that I've had, and I want to be part of something to build with the schools. So again, I feel like Millfield has something for everyone, and I think if you haven't yet seen our school values and watched the videos that support those, I would really urge you to do that, because it is something that I feel really does set us apart from other schools.
And those videos, when we film them, it is in the own words of the students. So we did ask them, what does the value mean to you? And we used actually what they felt it was, going all through the school. So fantastic answers to all these questions so far, and thank you so much for your time, Sarah. Finally, what would be your 3 takeaways? So if those listening only went away with 3 messages, what would they be?
Yeah, I think to be a Millfield student, or to be part of our Millfield community, it is fast-paced. You are in it to win it, and that doesn't necessarily mean a medal every time, but it means that you are expected to strive. It is fast-paced. There is never a dull moment, but it's fantastic fun, is what I would say is my first one. The second one, gratitude and appreciation. I think this is an opportunity like no other, and I think we should show gratitude and appreciation for the opportunities that we have, and it's how do we use those opportunities as a positive force within our own communities and our families and our future careers, to impact other people, and grasping everything really that we offer. And lastly, and every school would say this, and rightly so, but I do feel it here, and particularly as what you said about our full boarding perspective, and that's no disservice, by the way, to our day students, who are a massive part of our school and everything that we do. But we do have a very strong sense of belonging here. Our identity, our community, our long-term attachment to the school, and our networks as children go out. So fast-paced, gratitude and appreciation, and a sense of belonging.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sarah, for sharing your views on the way we deliver pastoral care at Millfield. It's so important nowadays, and for a large community like ours, really, really wanted and needed, and supports a lot of people. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Millfield Way Podcast in conversation with Sarah Quenault. Thank you and goodbye.